can prove that Saul of Tarsus, the illustrious Apostle Paul, beloved founder of Paulianity, aka Christianity, was an ignorant line fraud who didn't know the Hebrew Scriptures nor the Hebrew language. And it won't take me long to do it. Galatians 3:14 says that the blessing of Abraham was coming on the Gentiles through Jesus. Gentiles were to receive the promises made to Abraham. They could now become a part of the covenant with Yahweh. So far that sounds good. But then Paul says something strange. Verse 16 says, "Now to Abraham and his seed were the promises made. He said not, and to seeds as of many, but as of one, and to thy seed, which is Christ." What in the world does that even mean? A promise was made to Abraham and his seed, Jesus, and nobody else? Nobody received any promises until Jesus came along? All the land promises in the Old Testament, they were all to Jesus and only Jesus? Because we know the land promises say seed too. And I'll show that later. The point Yahweh was making to Abraham was that his descendants would be blessed, not that Jesus would be blessed. Look at the passage again. Now to Abraham and his seed were the promises made. He said not, and to seeds as of many, but as of one, and to thy seed, which is Christ. All of the people that proceeded from Abraham's loins, all those children of Israel that couldn't be counted because they were like the sand and the stars, were to be blessed through Abraham and because of him. Jesus was not the one to whom the promise was made. Paul wants us to believe that the Gentiles are a part of this seed of Abraham. The promise is now to them, yet somehow the promise is only to one seed, and that seed is Jesus. Now maybe Paul is trying to say that one must be in Jesus to receive the promises. I get his little ploy here, but it doesn't hold up under scrutiny. First, as I said, it would mean that nobody was ever blessed in Abraham until Jesus came along. That's ridiculous. Paul is trying to make a big deal here out of the word seed. He wants us to believe that the seed of Abraham to which promises were made was only Jesus. Yet his point is that Gentiles who aren't Jesus are included in this promise to Abraham. Well, if they were included, then all of Abraham's descendants were also included, all those descendants that came before Jesus. So Paul's point here about it being Jesus doesn't really make any sense. I mean, where's he going with it? Second, and this one is major, this word seed appears a lot in the Old Testament. And if we take Paul's word that it can't be plural, we have a confusing mess on our hands. Genesis 12:7 says, "And the Lord appeared to Abram and said, Unto thy seed will I give this land." Was the land given to Jesus? Genesis 13:15 says, "For all the land which thou seest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed forever." Thy seed forever was just Jesus? Genesis 13:16, "And I will make thy seed as the dust of the earth, so that if a man can number the dust of the earth, then thy seed shall also be numbered." So that's just Jesus too? Or at least just one person that can't be numbered? Genesis 15:13, "And he said unto Abram, Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them. And they shall afflict them 400 years." Jesus was a stranger down in Egypt and afflicted for 400 years? Really? Genesis 15:18, "In the same day the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, Unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river of Euphrates." That's an awful lot of land just for Jesus. How big a boy was he? Genesis 17:7, "And I will establish my covenant between me and thee and thy seed after thee in their generations for an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto thee and to thy seed after thee." It's starting to seem like every generation is just full of Jesuses. What else can we think at this point? Genesis 17:10, "This is my covenant which ye shall keep between me and you and thy seed after thee. Every man-child among you shall be circumcised." Well, shoot. Here these men went through the ordeal of having their foreskins removed when they didn't have to. Only Jesus needed to be circumcised. Genesis 28:14, "And thy seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and thou shalt spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south, and in thee and in thy seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed." I guess Jesus was a big boy, spread abroad to the four winds. Leviticus 18:21, "And thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Moloch." Only Jesus couldn't be offered to Moloch? They could sacrifice their other children, and Yahweh was okay with it? I could go on with this. Many passages show that Paul was an ignoramus when it came to the Hebrew Scriptures. If in every place where the Bible says seed rather than seeds, it's singular and means only Jesus, the whole thing becomes nonsense. We can all see that. But there is a final point I want to make. According to Rabbi Tovia Singer, who ought to know because he was truly a Hebrew and knows the language, there is no word seeds in Hebrew. It's like our word sheep. No matter how many sheep we have, they're still sheep, not sheeps. And no matter how many children we have, they're our seed. Or as we might say, our offspring, not offsprings. So yes, this shows just how ignorant Paul was of the Hebrew language. It also tells us that he wrote this himself and was not inspired by God, who would have known the Hebrew language or would have known what he intended when he spoke the words in the Old Testament. And it exhibits how willing Paul was to make up any old crap he wanted to try to convince people more ignorant than he was of something totally false. Therefore, we can't believe a word Paul says. Oh, sure, Paul claimed to be a Hebrew among Hebrews, circumcised on the 8th day, of the stock of Israel, and the tribe of Benjamin, brought up at the feet of the famous teacher Gamaliel, taught according to the perfect manner of the law of our fathers. I don't think so. There is no way to excuse Paul for this blunder. Sure, an uninspired man might make such a claim if he were ignorant of the Old Testament. But Paul claimed inspiration for himself, and he claimed knowledge of Hebrew and the Hebrew Scriptures. He just pulled this craziness out of his butt, and he knew what he was doing, and he didn't care. After all, he said himself that if the truth of God through his lie abounded to God's glory, then he shouldn't be judged a sinner. Paul was okay with lying to promote his own belief system. But we shouldn't be. Thanks for watching. Bye.